is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 161. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... Sunday afternoon, coming off a home draw against Charlotte FC, but a lot to talk about from that game. Couple pieces of news, last business day.
Ooh.
Maybe check in on the best keeper in the world. We'll start as we always do. How you feeling, my friend?
As of late, confused. Hard not to be disappointed in a game that I thought and felt and said was a must-win contest for this team in regard to staying afloat for achieving their goal of making playoffs this year. But at the same time, it was as electric as I had initially thought it would be when Bukhari got there and Dessler got there and everything. I know I came down a little bit off of that monumentous high that I was having, anticipating that, but every time that man touched the ball, the stadium was standing up. You could feel the electricity. My skin would crawl a little bit and just get really excited. So in that regard, I'm really excited about what's to come, what we have out there now, and what it's going to look like when we're actually full strength and to get to that point. But again, mission is to make playoffs this year. And with 1 point from your last 3 games, you've put yourself in a really tough spot. You start to see some movement on that table where there's some teams that I no longer think we can catch. So we got to talk about it. But, just to say, and sports disappointed, I guess. Not sports sad.
Yeah, sports disappointed. Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and jump in here today because, again, a lot to talk about on this Sunday. Before we get into everything here on episode 161, just want to remind everybody listening that the best way you can support the podcast is to download the audio version of this episode wherever you get your podcast. Even if you're watching on that YouTube channel, head over to, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever. Hit that download button. And you can listen anywhere, but that download supports the show. You can also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Of course, that also helps us grow the North End Podcast. And if you are on that YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. That does the same. And hitting the notification bell can let you know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Coming into Saturday's match, we did get some news from the MLS disciplinary committee on Friday regarding the fracas from the midweek game against Dallas. And the quote here from that committee was that due to their roles in the mass confrontation, FC Dallas defender Sebastian Ibeagha and Austin FC defender Julio Cascante, midfielder Owen Wolff, and forward Ethan Finley will be issued an undisclosed fine for inciting and or escalating a mass confrontation. And I have no issue with all of that, but it boggles my mind that Nkosi Tafari was not also fined because, again, I don't think his actions, while more emotionally jarring they were to me during that whole thing, I don't think this guy should have been suspended or sent off or any of that, but no yellow card and then no fine. If his actions during that whole sequence were not the definition of inciting and or escalating mass confrontation, I don't know what is.
I am flabbergasted that he must have some sort of immunity because when you didn't list his name right there, I just could not. I can't believe it. Yeah. What did Finley do that was worse than what Tafari did?
I have no idea. Yeah, I'm not sure, man. And again, I have no issue with those other fines.
Yeah,
because that was a big thing. But it's a little bit mind blowing that Tafari gets out of there just unscathed.
That is strange. I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, just wanted to address that because there is positive news out of that press release. Absent was any additional discipline for Sebastian Driussi. So just the 1 game suspension in last night's match against Charlotte FC. So Seba ready to go for this Friday's upcoming match against Pumas, our first League's Cup group stage match, and then eligible to return to league play against Nashville in a little over a month. We also got media availability after a light training session on Friday morning. So we had Coach Wolf and we had Osman Bukhari there. And talking to the press, Coach did confirm that Alex Ring was going to wear the armband on Saturday. He also confirmed that he has been the vice captain all season, which I guess tracks right when he's been out there and 10 hasn't. 8 has been wearing the armband. And if I recall correctly, he also said that the leadership council on the team was Driussi, Ring, and I think he said JoJo. So I expected another J name in there. I thought it would be Julio. I think he said Johan Valencia was the third member of that leadership council.
Interesting. You brought that up to me earlier before we jumped on the show here and everything, and just took a little time to think about it because, as we've talked about this club throughout the course of this season, we've brought up various other names of veteran guys who we thought had probably a positive voice in the locker room or at training, what have you. And that list always includes like Hector and Julio and Brad and everything. But I guess we haven't given JoJo his credit per se in regard to being a really good influence for the boys and being on that council. So we still need some better leaders.
Yeah. Or at least just maybe some guys with higher standing talent wise in the group that also bring that leadership or that higher level of leadership. Right. But interesting indeed. Alexander Svatak, also a topic of conversation at media availability, and Coach Wolf saying he would arrive, he thought in the next few days. That turned out to be the next day because the club tweeting out Saturday morning that Svatak had arrived in Central Texas. And then we saw him come out on the pitch at Q2 Stadium, hold his jersey up, the number 21, right, for a little photo op, and then drapes himself in the Ukrainian flag. Little applause to the supporter section. So that was great to see. And the fact that he's here, we've heard Coach Wolf say twice now that Svatak has expressed his desire to hit the ground running here in Austin. And we could talk about predictions, whether they were good or bad here in a second with some of our other new guys, but I'll lay out a prediction here. At least one of these group stage matches, I think we see Svatak play.
I think that's fair, and I'm super, super excited for it after seeing what those two guys last night brought to the table, and just the elevated play that you could see is just night and day from some of the guys we have out there before them.
Yeah, so let's just get into the lineup here. And I was having a laugh both yesterday and this morning thinking about your face when I started reading off the lineup as it came through an hour before kickoff last night, because I just went down the list and I started Brad Stuver, Hector Jimenez, and you went, oh boy. But then we continue on. Matt Hedges, Brendan Hindsight, Guilherme Biru rounding out the back line, Alex Ring with the armband, Johan Valencia and Danny Pereira in the midfield. Next to the captain, Hadar Obrian out on a wing, Jassi Zardes up top, and Estradamus, Osman Bukhari, making his first start in his first appearance with the club. That brought the vibes up for me, the expectations, right? Like, it was a must-win game, I think, regardless. And again, obviously, they don't get that done. But it was just great to see, man. It's exciting. Like, he's our new designated player finally here.
Yeah, I mean, initially you're trying to temper expectations before you see that lineup. I had obviously come down a little bit in regard to Usman getting the start potentially after listening to you and Landon and stuff like that. But when you see that name in there, it immediately shifted to, okay, we're here. We're trying to win this game all out. Like, let's go get this done. And yeah, I mean, I just went from a 7 to like a 15 in regard to how excited I was there.
Yeah, I was telling you how I was trying to temper my expectations.
Yeah,
we were driving up there, a little out of line. Bench Leo Väisänen, which I guess just a moment. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on Hedges being in there over Leo?
I don't. I'm confused. I mean, outside of initially when we were going up there, we have the lineup, we're doing the review. Like the dust starts to settle after you see Usman's name and Leo on the bench. And I don't know, man. I could speculate that he might be the guy that we're shopping because Fatak is here, and we have a dearth of center back options now that we can try to move. So I would have to assume simply that one of these center backs is on the move. I wouldn't have thought it was Leo, but it's just odd that he did not get the start here. I don't know if it's a performance thing. I don't know if they don't want him to get hurt going forward. But again, this is not what we anticipated for Leo, particularly in this season.
Yeah. I mean, just like the roadmap, right, has not gone to plan.
No.
At least for what we expected. So Leo, John Kolmanich, Diego Rubio, CJ Fodre, Stephen Cleveland, John Gallagher, Owen Wolf, Mikkel Dessler, and Ethan Finley. That's like a real bench.
I was going to say, like, that bench sounds real nice now.
Yeah. So getting into this match, on the other side, right? We talked about in the midweek episode that we were not the only team getting a new DP, and not a new DP, but coming back from loan. Karol Swiderski gets the start for Charlotte as well up top. But then their other two DPs, he won on the bench. Dejare, I forget how to say his name. I was not familiar with Diagare, I think, is I do have a note here because it's a mouthful. I had not heard of him before, which was a little bit interesting. Signed in the summer window last year. But then Liel Abada, right? We are familiar with that name. Mm-hmm. And he was not just not in the 11, but not in the team. So Austin down Driussi, Charlotte down Abada. So, eye for an eye, I guess, there in terms of the inactives.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Obviously, once we get into this game, I have more grudges against 10.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So like we're going to have to get into that. And I was confused. We're talking the lineups, perusing their socials on the drive up, and you see no Abada, and that was a bit of a surprise for us indeed. But again, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Third minute here. Danny gets pulled down about 35 yards out, and then Austin plays the free kick laterally from left to right, and then right again, feeding it out to Usman Bukhari. He tries to get past Euron into the end line, can't quite get there, drops it back momentarily, but then that ball is pinged, I think, by Hector, right back to him. And on the second attempt, beats Euron to the line, fires across towards Giassi Zardes that Giassi sends over the bar and out for a goal kick. But I know you mentioned it a few minutes ago, and this is not the last time we will say this, but every time, it's not just the anticipation of okay, Bukhari is here and now he's on the ball and everybody's going to stand up. But it was you could tell right away that this guy is going to be a fucking problem for opposing defenses. And every time he touched the ball or made a dribble, even sometimes when it wasn't successful, I'm just sitting there huh! Just grabbing AG in front of us, freaking out that this guy looked I think we said to our buddy Alex behind us, because we had an Alex in front of us and an Alex behind us last night. Row 12 Alex, we were saying, I think this is what it looks like when you hit on a DP.
Yes. I mean, every time he touched it, and we were trying to get him the ball. We were trying to feed him, which I really appreciated because he had to have some sort of nervousness. I know he's been on bigger stages, but you got your first game here in Austin. The crowd is going wild. The anticipation is through the roof and everything, but you could just tell every time he was in control of the ball, in possession, he's just going to be a nightmare. We on the ride up, we're getting all excited just about thinking about not even him just scoring, just the dudes that he's absolutely going to embarrass out there throughout the course of his tenure here in Austin. And it was just fun to see. It was just awesome to see a guy that looked like he didn't belong in this league, and he's on our team.
Yeah. Well, I didn't put this in the notes, but let's just talk about it. Cause his first touch, I'm pretty sure is he gets the ball, he's holding off a defender. And as he's holding off that one defender, it looked like he tried to nutmeg the second guy that came into double team, and it didn't quite work. But even it's just things like that, the audacity to try that with confidence. We just don't, we've had one guy, I think, in our club's history that would do something like that. Unfortunately, suspended last night. But yeah, man, exciting.
It is so freaking exciting. Like, again, I kept telling people, anyone who would listen to me last night, like, we've gotten through the darkest days. Like we've been through the darkest days now, and our patience has paid off because this dude just seems to fit the bill from what we expected from him. And I know that obviously things got to come with the goals and the assists and the stats and the production.
You got to win.
If you saw him out there and you saw what it looked like, you know that other stuff is just inevitable at some point in time.
Yeah. 5th minute, Charlotte coming off a free kick from the left side. Austin clears it out to the right, but then Charlotte staying in possession. And O'Brien kicks out Burns' leg right here. And I think head official John Freeman clearly letting them play a little bit, because I think showed some mercy to not pull a card here. And on that second set piece, just a routine catch from Stuver. But I do have this in the notes later, but I'll say it right now off the top. I thought John Freeman, until the very end of the match where I have an issue with one of the cards he pulled, I thought it was a very consistent game from this officiating crew. And that type of consistency is what we ask for as fans, I think. And you've heard the coaches say that as well.
Yeah, you're not going to get every call right. You're going to miss things throughout the course of the game. They're human beings, but all you're really asking for is for it to be consistent throughout the game. And he let these guys play, and I appreciated that. Hot Air definitely could have seen yellow for this tackle here, but it was the first one of the game for us. And I mean, we don't see a card till like the 59th minute, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah, second half for sure.
So like I also thought the crew was very solid.
11th minute here, Austin pressing high. Danny puts the heat on Kalina in the 6-yard box and kind of forces a wayward clearance. And I thought Guilherme Biru here does really well to step in front of and deflect this, or step in front of a defender and deflect this ball down to Alex Ring. And Alex plays Hodder O'Brien, who kind of, I think, probably missed Zardes on this run up the middle while he's kind of dancing with it at the top of the box. But then he sees Danny out to his left, plays Danny, and Danny immediately pops just a lovely ball over the top of that back line, and Alex Ring ducking in behind that line. I mean, look, Alex, we get on him for the lack of elite finishing ability that, you know, he doesn't seem to possess, but here, this header perfectly down into the ground, you know, I think that's kind of textbook what you're supposed to do in that situation. Puts it past Kalina, opening goal, flying high to start this one.
Absolutely. This is one of the prettier goals we've had all season. I agree with you. I do think Hot Air missed G initially, but it worked out. What a ball by Pep here to lob that over their back line, which we'll have to talk about the size of this Charlotte team as well, because absolutely huge. Great finish by Alex. Definitely just one of the much prettier goals we've had this season. So feeling absolutely fantastic at this point in time. And I do just want to point out, like, the difference or the juxtaposition between what Hot Air looks like and what Ousmane looks like. Because like Hot Air in that situation is kind of, he's limiting himself in regard to like the touches that he can make, because it's not as controlled to his foot. But when you see Bukhari attack, he's coming right at you. Like, good luck, you know? So
you're in trouble.
So I thought that just seeing the difference between those two guys, again, just boost me up for Bukhari even more. We're be talking about him all the time now at this point, but super satisfied with the execution here. And just, I mean, I can't say enough of how good a ball that was from Pep. Just absolutely tremendous. Yeah.
I think on the night, we got another really good game out of Danny in that advanced position. And I think through, you know, we're 25 games in here. So if you can cut that in half, I think we have seen the two best performances of Danny up in that dual 8, dual 10, whatever, you know, the coaching staff is calling it that day. Like, I thought we saw that we have seen the two best games of him in those positions in the second half of the games we have played so far. So I think just maybe trying to indicate that he is progressing. We are watching him improve in those situations in that position as we go throughout the season.
I agree. And that's a very good call.
3 minutes later, Austin right back on the attack, and Hector plays Bukhari down the right side. He mixes his defender with a little spin move and then a little bit of speed as well. Gets a rise out of the fans there in the north end. And even on the broadcast team on the replay, Ousmane makes that spin move and both of them go, oh! Yeah. And then he plays a ball towards Ring that's ultimately knocked away. But again, you see, like you said, we're going to keep talking about him, but because he's going to keep doing shit like this. It's high quality.
It's just awesome.
17th. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, like I think I said it to you last night. I was just like, man, I hope this feeling of every time he touches the ball and me just feeling like, ooh, never ever goes away.
Yeah. Well, and like, look, I'm definitely not trying to make I'm not making the one-to-one comparison to Denny Bouanga. But like to me, this is like what I've watched the dread I feel when Bouanga gets into a one-on-one scenario against any of our defenders that the times that we've taken him on. I feel like this is the other side of it, right? We're like, okay, we've got a guy and you guys are in trouble now, one-on-one. So we'll see. Again, very excited to. I think this is the thing I'm most excited about for this Leagues Cup group stage is just to watch our new guys play.
Yeah.
Like we'll talk about Leagues Cup, but again, going forward, very excited. 17th minute here. Charlotte brings down a ball near midfield and Malanda to Gianni. Gianni, huge. Again, that whole team was, them in Seattle. I think it's like Dessler, big fucking right back.
Yeah.
Svatak, obviously, big center back. So it seems like some of these teams with the more successful back lines and higher up in the table than us, that physical size comes along with it. So I think that's also something we're looking for in these new guys.
But not even just their back line. They had guys in the midfield who were absolutely
Tavares, huge.
Yeah, Tavares, huge. What's the other guy's name? He gets the second goal.
Who did score the second goal? No, that was Tavares. Tavares scores the second goal.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
But like they were midfield players, and it was like, okay, what is going on here? Like these guys are huge, long, athletic. But yeah, they were a good team. I will say that they were a quality team.
Yeah. So Malanda to Gianni to Swiderski, and Swiderski turns, takes a touch towards goal, and fires a shot from about 20 yards out that goes just over the bar. But there it was. It's like, okay, there's their new DP, or the guy that they haven't had all season. And again, Swiderski was starting for Ajimang, who is their leading scorer. So Charlotte, again, a year younger than we are. And I think just a little bit further along in their roster build, looking at some of their depth.
That's fair to say. They didn't have a sporting director threaten to blackmail the U.S. men's national team head coach. So that probably checks out.
23rd minute, Danny plays Bukhari in behind into the 18, and Osman can't quite bring it down to get a touch until it's much closer to the end line, but still before Christian Kalina can get to it. So Usman beats the keeper to it, and then looks like he kind of checks his shoulder and is about to try to turn the ball back towards the field of play, and it kind of gets away from him out for a goal kick. But off that goal kick, Austin immediately gets back on the ball, and Usman driving up the middle skips it out to Danny Pereira on the left. And then as he plays Obrian down the left, Obi runs into a Charlotte defender, bounces off, and the play breaks down. And just kind of unfortunate there, I think, that there wasn't more contact because it's not nearly enough to get a pen. But again, it's just like, I really like to see that we stayed, at least for the next 10 to 15 minutes after the first goal, we stayed on the front foot.
Absolutely. I thought we were on the front foot for the majority of this game. And this is going to be gripe number one that I'm going to bring up with 10 here, because once they realized how good Bukhari was, they just began to overload that side and make sure that they were going to try to limit his touches as much as possible. And that would have been all kinds of space for 10 to operate in, right in the middle of the field, where he's been frustrated, where he's not getting the ball. Like, this was your chance to be getting these balls in dangerous areas and also have the space. Now you're not being bracketed. You're not being doubled. The gravity has shifted entirely over to Bukhari's side. And, I firmly stand by the fact that I believe this team would have won last night if 10 was out there.
Look, we're 160 episodes in here, E. We've got some synergy, because the literal next note here in the rundown is Charlotte has clearly started to shade towards Osman's side when Austin has the ball by this point of the half. And when he does get on the ball, double team.
Yep. And it still didn't really matter.
Yeah, no, he was still getting away from guys.
Yeah.
But I do think it did limit the number of total touches he got the rest of the half, and was effective. And then again, sometimes we just need to play it out to Hodder on the other side down there with more space. Again, you see that shift, the gravity that a player like Bukhari brings with his threat to the defense, and it opens things up for all the other guys. So.
Absolutely. I mean, even like you just outlined right there, even if he's not getting those touches and not getting the ball, he's still impacting the game.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yep. 32nd minute here, Charlotte, long passage of possession and able to whip balls in from both sides of the 18 in this instance. And Tavares comes down with the ball after the second cross, facing away from net. He kind of takes a touch away from net. Brendan Heinzike is right on his back, and then Ring is coming in hot. Tavares sees him, steps in front. Ring kind of runs through his left leg that is outstretched, goes through him. And I think the penalty is correctly given here. I believe there was a check. I know after the game there was some question. Some folks thought it was a questionable call. For me, that is Verde tinted lenses. I thought seeing it live, it looked like a pen. There was, they didn't send Freeman to the monitor, and seeing it on the replay this morning. This is a problem with Alex Ring, because this is his third penalty conceded on the year, if my stats are correct here. And I say through the year, but that's just through 25 games. That's just, it's unacceptable for any of our players, but especially somebody, that's wearing the armband, right? And so Alex giveth, and then Alex taketh away here in the first half hour.
I just don't know what he's thinking here.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's thinking. Tavares is facing away from the goal. His first touch is taking him away from the goal. He's clearly covered by Brendan in this situation. Hector even has help side if he chose to turn to that near post and try to make something happen. But this is a non-threatening player right now with the ball, who most likely is going to need to drop it off to somebody behind him so that they're actually facing the fucking goal.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I went to the bathroom right after this, and I just this team just can't stop shooting itself in their own foot. And this was, you just give them a gift, this is a gift. You give him a PK, and Swiderski comes up there and he's a very talented player. He's going to bury it. He buries it. And here we are back at 1-1 when everything was going our way. And even before that, I've mentioned this before, the way that Charlotte got back in possession of this ball was Danny got a little too cute on the sideline. And it's I'm okay with just clearing it out into space every now and then. Again, because even our possession build-up styles, it's not creating all of these chances. We talk about it all season long. It's not leading to great high-quality chances. And there's just no point in taking a risk like this. And then for Alex to just come in and 100% a foul, 100% a PK.
Yeah.
I don't see how there could be any sort of question there. He runs right through his back leg. And man, it was just really, really disheartening to see it. And like you said, that's 3 now. You got the band on, and it's just an inexcusable mistake.
Yeah. Well, I think
poor Stuber, man. This poor man.
I mean, I think Heinzike addresses it in the post-game comments that Phil had on Verde all day. It's just individual mistakes, right? And ultimately, goals conceded are on the entirety of the defense, and the defense includes everybody on the team ultimately. But you can still point out and highlight the individual mistakes that lead to these issues, right? Yeah. And we've seen it this entire week. And again, it comes back to a discipline thing. And Alex is obviously a more veteran player in this league, former full-time captain of the team, vice captain still. But that also is a reflection on your leadership from the coaching staff. And so to me, this is something that I wish we would have heard something about the discipline in the press conference after, a question about that, because it is red card, penalty in 3 straight games in 8 days. That's not a good look. And I hope that changes through the remaining 9 league games, because if it doesn't, we ain't making the playoffs. If you're giving up one of these huge mistakes every single game.
We are just giving teams gifts all the time. And I had this thought, and it was probably 3 episodes ago at this point, where I was curious as to why BHI didn't get subbed out when he had that yellow in the Seattle game. And I went back in the old annals here, up in the old mine storage department. And, Coach talked about how benching guys was an accountability thing that wasn't necessarily available to him because of how thin the roster was. But in that game versus Seattle, we were fully fleshed out on the back there. And Brandon had played really bad up until that point. So to me, if you're going to say that and be like, well, I can't really get these guys out of the game because I don't have enough pieces to work with, which was true. It's not an excuse. It was the truth. There was not enough players to be able to hold these guys to full accountability. But once we got the roster filled out and guys started to get back and Julio was now back and everything like that, then you can do that, So I was just curious as to why that didn't happen earlier. And I didn't do a really good job of explaining it because that's where I was coming from. It was like, Coach has said this now at this point. So again, the recourse just can't keep being that we give games away.
Yeah.
That just can't be the punishment anymore. At some point, there has to be some punishment levied, come down. But you can't be giving up 3 PKs in 25 games, Alex Ring. You can't do it. We're not good enough. Most teams aren't good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that I would push back on all of that is going back to the idea of we should sub out Brendan Heinzike when he's on a yellow. I just think back to my take on anybody else who's gotten a red in that situation. Most notably Danny in Dallas last year, where we're all like, why didn't Coach take him out? But that if you take him out before then people we're gonna complain, why'd you take Danny out so soon? I just think it's hindsight. To me, that's when you're on a caution. Sometimes you can take a guy out, right? You see that maybe he's gone over the line in terms of his emotions. He's lost. You're not, you need to pull him back because you can see that second yellow coming. I didn't really see that happening with Brendan last Saturday.
I think that's fair, but when you compound it with the fact that he was having a really poor game,
sure, that's fair.
You can make the call at that point, and it kind of gives you an out. You could be like, oh, he's on caution, but I agree, it is not black and white for sure, and of course there's some hindsight involved and everything like that. And Brandon is not a guy who kind of loses his mind and everything. We're getting off track here, but I'm with you. I understand where you're coming from.
36-minute, Heinzike finds Bukhari on the right, and really exciting give and go here between he and Alex Ring to get to the end line. And another dangerous cross sent across the face of net that neither Jossie Zardes or Hader Obrian can get to, but Austin stays in possession, and Obrian wins a free kick. After this one squeaked out to the right side, he beat Byrne to the ball here, and no yellow given for a very similar foul. And again, I would shout out Freeman and his crew, very consistent, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And all right, gripe number 2 for 10. We know he's a solid aerial threat. He's one of the better aerial threats on our team now. And now you have a guy delivering world-class service from Bukhari. Yeah, you can go and get some of these headers that you hasn't been generated since what feels like 2022 at this point. Yeah. So again, we really, really missed him last night. This was a must-win game, and we would have won if we had 10 in my book.
Yeah, and it's not even just the headers, right? It's just the late arriving nature of his scoring ability.
The defense is adjusting, reacting to Bukhari. They're coming back, and now you can slide into that space and get delivery that you haven't been getting, and rightfully so, led to a lot of frustrating moments for you this year.
Yeah. On that free kick, Alex Ring had a crack on the free kick. Kalina punches it away, but I don't hate it there.
I hated it.
You hated it? Okay.
It wasn't a good shot.
Yeah, he forced a punch. There was some power behind the shot, but fair.
Yeah, he didn't even move really. I don't know. I again, hindsight. I didn't like it. It's not something Alex has ever done. He's never just made a free kick since he's been in Austin. So it's just not in your bag. But
maybe this time.
Yeah, maybe. What's in the box? It could be anything.
Yeah. Coming out of the half here, and quite literally out of the half, off this kickoff, Stuver gets pressured, but gets the long kick away towards midfield where Guilherme Biru heads it up instead of just bringing it down for whatever reason. I think for me here, I know this happens very fast, but he had a lot of space. I just think there's teammates around him that can be like, yo, you got time, just bring this down. But again, ultimately, like, he heads it up into the air. Gianni heads it out to the left, and Hector Jimenez gets to it, but his back pass to Brad Stuver is right into the path of Karol Swiderski, who was pressuring Stuver on the initial kickoff. So Swiderski dribbles around Stuver, fires a shot towards the open net that pings off the underside of the bar and is ultimately cleared out. But, disaster averted. But I really thought we were going to get Mikkel Dessler and John Gallagher subbed on at the half because of the way they were warming up late in the first. Coach said after the match that the high-performance team said that Bukhari was good for 45 minutes and then see how he is after that, and that Dessler, they wanted to be around 30 minutes. But, man, again, we don't concede on this one, but Hector very much a player in the next 10 to 15 minutes where we could have absolutely used the 6'1" Dessler on that right side. So your thoughts on that, and then maybe the non-subs?
I mean, it's not necessarily the end result of us getting lucky and not having the second goal scored on us on an empty net here. It's once again the fact that we just gave this team another present, another gift. They did not earn this attempt per se. It's just a terrible back pass by Hector that is lacking the necessary pace to get back to Brad. And it was really concerning. And I just don't have enough insight onto what metrics and things that the high performance team are looking at. So I have to kind of blindly trust that process because I can't point to anything data wise to be like, well, why wouldn't we be able to squeeze an extra 8 minutes out of a Ligue 1 right back in this type of situation, particularly when we're trying to squeeze 55 minutes out of our 34, 35-year-old 5'9" fullback in Hector, versus this giant team. And it does come to bite us back. It comes back to bite us in the butt here. I wish I had more information on that because then I feel like I could give a bit more of an educated take. But even seeing Usman after halftime, he didn't look tired to me.
Yeah, and he didn't get a ton of touches. And he also said, I believe, after the match that he wasn't pushing himself to the fullest extent because combining what he said and what coach was saying about the high performance staff and their limitations on these guys, that they're kind of in what they were calling like a danger zone for getting hurt, picking up knocks, picking up soft tissue injuries, given how long it's been since they played, right? And Dessler especially, I think it was like May 20th or so until now, got married, had a honeymoon, moved halfway around the world.
And again, I totally understand that.
Yeah, for sure. It's just frustrating in the moment.
Yeah. You're like, okay, this dude can definitely play 90 minutes. Like, of course he could. If everything was on the line, yes, we got 90 minutes out of this guy. But you're not going to roll him out here and potentially get a hamstring pull on your $8 million man, and now he's shut down for the rest of the season. So I get it. It's just it was definitely frustrating.
50th minute here. Austin wins a corner off an Alex Ring cross coming in from the right, and then Alex taking the corner here down in the south end, and he finds the head of a charging Matt Hedges, but he can't get on top of that ball, and he sends it over the bar. Then 56th minute, Valencia wins a ball back in the defensive third in the north end, but then dribbles it straight out of bounds, and he stands there arguing that there was a touch by the Charlotte player right as it went out. But as he's complaining, Charlotte throws it in quickly to an unmarked Ashley Westwood, who turns and crosses it towards the back post, where Tavares is battling Jimenez and just kind of like discards him and taps it with his foot out of the air past Stuver. 2-1 Charlotte. And so again, like, I just think to no fault of Hector's, that is almost an impossible matchup for him physically. But again, we have struggled on that post, no matter if it's been John or Owen or Hector or whomever's been back there. And I just think, again, when we put our 6'1" centaur back there, who comes on in a moment, I think we'll have better luck on plays like that. But again, it starts with Johan dribbling the ball straight out of bounds and whining about the call instead of waking up. Hey, we're on defense here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think it's just like kind of individual mistakes. These ones not as glaring, but it adds up, man. We got to be on our P's and Q's down there, and we have not been this week. And again, I think that's a reflection of the coaching staff and the lack of discipline that this team has exhibited this week, especially.
Yeah, it's been a very, very challenging, tough week in regard to some of the decision making that these guys have had and the maturity levels. And for, again, a guy who's on the leadership council to be arguing a call like this and not awake. And he wasn't even the only person who wasn't awake in this situation. Like multiple other guys are over there looking at it, also being like, well, damn, he feels pretty confident about the fact that the ball didn't go off of him. Well, it did, bro. Yeah. Like, he dribbled it right out of bounds. And you give them one of these cheaper opportunities of the game, and they capitalize on it. And it just sucks.
We also had those subs ready to go. A triple sub comes in here right after the goal. So Dessler makes his debut. You also get Owen Wolf and John Gallagher on for Bukhari, Hector, and Guilherme Biru. And then Biru coming off. I don't know if this was because he perceived that he got fouled on the previous play that led to the goal, whether he was upset about coming off or what. But Gallagher standing at midfield with the double high five ready to come into the game, and Biru just leaves him hanging, looks him off. He's screaming and yelling as he walks past the coaches. So, again, I don't know if that was him being upset about coming off. I don't know if you can hear that giant thunderclap that just happened down here, but about to be rainy Austin, Texas. Yeah, man, you could see it on the big screen. You could see it on the broadcast. And I want guys to be not happy about coming out, right? But I think what was just a little bit alarming to me, again, I have no idea what it could have been, the perceived foul, this or that. Just like leaving your teammate hanging while he's coming into the game like that. It's not good optics, and sometimes perception is reality.
For sure. And I again, it's just in a vacuum, it's not that big of a deal. Right. It's not. It happens in professional sports. Guys are passionate. You're fired up. You're in competition, and you got something to say, and you want to get it off your chest. But when you take it into account with all the other things that have transpired, particularly from the leadership maturity levels that have taken place throughout the course of this last week, and you can even go back to the beginning of the season with that. Sure. But if we just want to highlight and magnify what it's looked like as of late, just a lot of bad decision making and a lot of poor leadership qualities lacking in regard to the guys that have a voice here. And I've said it before. We'll bring up gripe number 3 now for 10. You can't hold your 25-year-old, 23-year-old fullback accountable like this when you are also doing this stuff. So I'm just disappointed, and frustrated at what should have been. It was a very winnable game. This game was right here, and we fucking needed it.
Yep. So the subs, you do, of course, Dessler at right back, but then Gallagher left back, Owen Wolf left wing, 59th minute. Charlotte back on the attack here. Tavares takes another crack that Stuver parries away. Very good save here, I thought, from Brad. And then on the counterattack, Privet gets the first yellow card of the game, as you called earlier, 59th minute, for taking out Hader O'Brien. 63rd minute, another Alex Ring corner that is headed over the bar once again by Matt Hedges. I like to see that, man. Twice in 10 minutes.
I wanted to say that the first time. I thought that Hedges looked really threatening in the air. And those are actually some, this is, I know it didn't result in a goal. This team is at the bottom of the league in regard to set piece goals. We might be dead last. And obviously take that into account with the fact that we're pretty much dead last in expected goals, actual goals, all of these categories. But those two actually looked legitimate and very nice. And that's something that we've been missing. And it's not, I'm not calling for Matt Hedges to get more time. I just want to point it out that I did appreciate, and I thought it looked good in the air. I
agree. Threatening. 65th minute, Ajimong in for Swiderski. So again, nice to bring your leading scorer off the bench for your DP that just came back into the fold.
I was glad they brought him in too, because he was terrible.
You didn't think he was good? I mean, physically so imposing, though.
Yeah, but he was awful.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one chance later on that I don't think I got into the notes where Ajimong's going down that left side and Brendan tries to just tackle him and he bounces off.
Yeah.
And then the pass is, like you said, is not good. And we got lucky there. But I just specimen physically, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think a little bit bigger than like Giassi, I think.
He's bigger than Giassi.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, he was big, but I thought that he had at least 3 to 4 individual chances where it was like he had 1 or 2 defenders on him and he just either lost the ball or turned it over. I was not impressed with him. And I'm not going to, say that he's not a good player because I only saw him in this very small amount of time, but getting Swiderski off there and seeing what Ajimong was doing was a welcome sight for me.
Yeah, for sure. 71st minute double change here for Charlotte. Smalls and Diagore, their designated player there, in for Tavares and Kerwin Vargas. 73rd minute, great ball from Danny to Alex Ring down the right, and Alex puts a cross in towards the back post, finds the head of a backpedaling Diego Rubio, which prevents him from getting enough power on this header that floats into the hands of Christian Carlino. But again, I think that the service from Alex Ring in the second half was better than we've seen from him in a while, I think.
I totally agree. And, if he didn't have this just horrible penalty kick conceded, like he would have had probably his best game of the season.
Yeah. 74th minute, you get John Kolmanich in for Johan Valencia, which, again, this is exciting for me. Not necessarily the names that we're talking about here, but the flexibility with being able to bring these guys off the bench, because Kolmanich goes to left back, which slots Gallagher up to left wing and Owen Wolf into the midfield. And again, that type of utility knife, type of options that we are going to have going forward. And then you would hope even more so in the 2025 season. It's just, to me, it's like the arrow is just like slightly pointing up now. Even if, again, the result did not come last night.
For sure. And, these guys got to get used to playing with one another. There's going to be a bit of a growing process. I think having 2 quote unquote exhibition matches, non-league games with these 2 Liga MX teams here could do a lot of good in regard to building a bit more of rapport between these guys. But I mean, we talked about it in depth in regard to how we figured that this was going to unlock our ability to move Johnny wherever we seemed fit. Same with Owen as well. And you see it right here. And I know that obviously Johnny gets the goal later on here, but just being excited about the fact that we have that depth and versatility now was good enough for me. And then for Johnny to go ahead and go get his goal contribution there, because, I was on his ass last night for sure. And I've been on him all season. He's been one of the most disappointing players we've had, in my opinion, this year. So I was very happy for him to get on the score sheet.
One thing you don't need new players for is Diego Rubio to pick up another yellow card, because late challenge here on Euronen, I just think deserved here. Another yellow for Diego, and now he's 2 away from another suspension.
He's going to get suspended again.
Yeah,
for sure. And again, it points to the stuff that we've been talking about in regard to leadership, accountability, and stuff like that. And Diego, it just, we really appreciated it. We really do appreciate still his attitude, his tenacity, his willingness to throw it into the fire. But you got to be under a bit more of control, man.
Yeah, for sure. 80th minute here. Austin trying to find their way out of the back. And I thought this starts with a great pass from Heinz Eich to Owen Wolf up the middle, which is where they were daring us to beat them last night. So Owen finding the space. And I thought he did a great job to turn and get that ball immediately off his foot out to the left, where John Gallagher gets onto it, give and go back to Owen. And as he gets to the end line, low cross in towards Rubio. There's a deflection, but I thought Diego did a good job here to come in, beat the defender to the ball, and win it anyways. Now facing away from net, he tried to find Alex Ring near the top of the box, and Alex himself does well to step in front of a defender because the pass was a little bit slow, and he keeps possession. He gives it right back to Diego in the box on the left, and he crosses it from the end line to a cutting John Gallagher, who taps it home for the equalizer. Is great team goal, I think, even if it was a little bit shaky with the slow pass and a deflection in that passage. But also, it's just a tough day for Landon predictions because you get the Bukhari start, and then he was talking about how he didn't think John Gallagher should be a part of our attack, and of course John scores. I saw him tweet like just a big laugh, I think, when that happened. And I know that Landon and all of us will take it, and we're happy, like you said, for John to get on the score sheet. And again, show any of us who were doubting that he still can contribute when he's up there. And again, very excited to have him as that guy who can play right back, right wing, left wing, midfield if he had to, I'm sure. Good to see John get on the scoreboard.
Yep. Multiple effort plays here by guys like you outlined, which I really, really appreciate. And I know that once we get to the end of this game, it all concludes. Definitely want to talk about how hard we played. Yeah. And how I felt like a lot of guys really just left it all out there. The substitution pattern, obviously, with the introduction of Bukhari and Dessler, got a bit funky. It was the first time we've ever seen anything like this. And I think guys who usually would have gotten some a breather, like your hot airs, I think G, even with the amount of time that he had to put in earlier in this week, it kind of caught up to him. So we'll talk about that. But this was a multiple effort play. Owen with some multiple effort plays that I really appreciate and enjoy. And you go ahead and get this equalizer. And, I turned to you and I think we got to get one more. We got to find one more here somehow. Yep. And we didn't.
82nd minute, Ben Bender in for Bronico. And then 86th minute. This is my one gripe on the night with the officiating. Danny picks up a yellow here. And I don't think it will be. But I think this should be rescinded because I don't foul happens and he picks up the ball and is holding it. But then the Charlotte player tries to knock it away from him. And that's when the yellow card is given. It didn't seem to me like he was doing enough to draw a caution for delaying. It didn't seem like to me he was delaying that much at all. No. More than any other instance like this in any game we've had this season. So, ultimately, again, yellow card, and now he is 2 cards away, or is it 1 card away now?
I don't know.
Either way, I think like you said with Diego, he's gonna get suspended again.
Yeah, he's gonna get suspended again. And I thought this was the one really shit call of the night because he's not. This is as far as shithousery goes in this sport. This was as tame as it gets.
Yeah. Well, and there's another thing. Before I get to this, 87th minute off that free kick. Then immediate yellow card to Dessler after Euronen was kind of on Euronen's back and Euronen just stops. So Dessler runs through him, give him a little Chris Paul okey doke there in the open field. But then 2nd minute of stoppage here, there's a foul whistled against Charlotte as Dessler was pulled back right in front of those benches there. And Ben Bender runs over. I don't know if he didn't see that the ball was Austin's or what, but it's near the Austin coaches. And as the foul is called, the Austin coaches try to pick up the ball to give it to our guys. Ben Bender tries to pick it up and look like Coach Rios, overextended. He hits the ground. But the fact that Ben Bender messes with the ball there, and then the ball gets over to the Charlotte bench and one of their coaches picks it up and drops it behind him so Danny can't immediately get to it. We are less than 10 minutes away from you awarding a yellow card for picking up the ball. None of their coaches or player get a yellow card there. Again, it was just the one issue I have with that officiating crew last night. And again, that wasn't much of anything, but because we just got the yellow, I would have liked to see one there. And I think both of them would have been soft.
Totally agree.
Final minute here, 6 minutes of stoppage. Alex Ring wins a ball in the defensive third. Austin off on, again, what is their last chance of the night. That ball finds the feet of Owen Wolf. He gets it to Gallagher, who hits it to Jean Kolmanich on the left. And as Jean crosses midfield, beautiful ball over the top to find Diego Rubio in behind the defense. And Diego takes a great touch here to bring it down, but then can't settle his feet to put it on frame. And as he extends to try to reach that ball, I believe it was Privet flying in there to make the tackle, and he clips Privet, so it ends up being a foul on Diego. But that was the chance, man, and we had everything except just that final action, which has been the story of a lot of our failures this year.
Yeah, and I mean, that wasn't the only. There was another one, right? I think that Alex sent to Diego over the top, and he might have been offsides on that one.
That was to end the game. So, Diego was off, but they let it go on, and then Owen gets fouled, and as the foul gets, can't give us a foul if we were offside. So the flag went up. That's how the game actually ended.
Okay.
But yeah, a couple good long balls. But Kolmanich, great ball there.
Yeah, that was a fantastic ball. A great touch to bring it down by Diego. And God, if we could have had that, it would have been.
I know.
Oh, absolutely miraculous.
56% possession for Austin, 12 shots to 11 in favor of Charlotte, and 5 shots on target to 4 also in favor of Charlotte. 3 big chances created for Austin, just 1 missed. 3 corners apiece for these teams, and then the XG models on FOTMob, 1.82 for Austin, 2.34 for Charlotte, but 1.55 non-penalty expected goals there. So again, you see how much of an influence that penalty conceded has in terms of those numbers. And then my favorite stat, expected goals on target, 1.99 for Austin. That's pretty accurate. 2.55 for Charlotte, but 1.56 non-penalty expected goals on target. So Austin, competing in this one for sure. Couple bounces go the other way. You don't commit the penalty. Maybe you come out on top in this one, but they did not have enough to get it done. And I will certainly take the draw over no points, but it was a must-win game for me. Again, not mathematically, right? We talked about that in the midweek, but it makes it that much harder on yourselves with 9 games to go now after the Leagues Cup break, needing 14 points to get up to 45, right? Which is, I think, the line we have all set where it's like you're getting a wild card spot unless just crazy things happen with the rest of the Western Conference. So 14 points from the 9 remaining matches, which is 4 wins, 2 draws gets it done, or 5 wins. And that is a steep climb.
It's a tall task, because particularly when you look at who we have to play. You got to go to LA twice. You got to go to LAFC. You got to go to Galaxy. You got to host RSL. You got to host Colorado. You're playing up in Toronto. We talked about it. You checked me pretty well in regard to their performance this season and the actual talent that they have, with Bernadeschi being one of the most terrifying players in this league in regard to scoring goals. So you did not do yourself any favors in this situation, and you're looking at a very difficult road to find those points in order to get to the place you want to be to achieve your goal for this season. With that all being said, you saw the infusion of talent here. You saw other players getting lifted up and elevated because of the threat that that Bukhari and Dessler provide. Svatak is in the city, ready to roll. So like those things are some things that I feel really good about. But at the same time, this is just becoming a window that is closing ever so slightly by the day. And then you see the results that came in last night. That's kind of like what I was holding on to looking at the
Houston
stadium.
game, dude. Insane to watch.
Absolutely insane. Of course, it doesn't go our way. So like it's a tall task. And I think I said it to you, and I think this is the most apt way I can put it. If you make the playoffs now, you deserved it, because this is going to be a challenging road to get in. And if you pull it off, you deserve it. And I also just want to say that I really, despite the fact that I'm disappointed that we didn't have enough to just get this to 3 points, Danny played his heart out, played his ass off.
He was dead by the end.
Hot Air played his ass off.
Full 90.
Right at when that whistle blew, you saw 3 or 4 guys just kind of collapse onto the ground just from sheer exhaustion. So I know that they laid it all out there, and that doesn't necessarily translate to winning. But I was happy and satisfied to see that from the guys, that they were willing to just put it all on the line and put it all out there. So I applaud them for that. And I will say that one thing you can take away from that, if you're able to bring that type of tenacity and willingness to compete for 90 minutes, more often than not, the results will go your way. So take that into this upcoming stretch here. This is the weirdest end to any professional sports league that I am aware of, where you have a month off, as we're right into the crunch time of everything. You have this tournament that's coming up as well. So, but I think the practice time, the reps with the new guys is going to be, it's very good. It's good timing in regard to that.
Yep. Couple quotes from Phil West over at Verde All Day. Coach Wolf talking about the positioning in the table as we reach the Leagues Cup break. He said, I think, as we've said all along, you want to be within a shout. We need to get these guys a little bit further up to speed physically with some game ideas, and then we can go after our first game against Pumas on Friday. I thought the new guys did quite well in their introduction, so we're pleased to get them through it and obviously get through it healthy. It's a tough space they're coming into with no real preseason, but I thought Mikkel especially gave a good calm to the game, and you can see his quality with the ball and positioning right away. Buka is dynamic. There's no doubt about it. His 1v1 play is going to be something that causes problems, and it helps unlock some other areas of the field. So within a shout, I don't know if the goalpost there a little bit, because like we definitely wanted to be in that top 9, especially with where the team was 2 months ago, sitting in 3rd. But yeah, and what he said about Dessler, I don't think we talked about too much during the recap. Physically impressive, man. And you know, he doesn't have that straight line sprint speed, but the short area bursts and his agility for his size, 6'6'1", it's a different kind of beast out there at right back. Again, very excited to have him on our team.
Yeah, now you got 2 fullbacks on either side of the ball who are good on the ball and can deliver service after making a move where they beat their initial defender. You know, I'm excited to see Dessler take a few cracks too. We know what Biru has in regard to that, and that's just a dynamic to our offense that is just really nice. So I know that Dessler kind of got lost in the mix here because it's just impossible to not get super excited when Buka's on the ball and he's doing his thing and he's running 30 miles an hour. You know, it's fun. But when Dessler came in, you saw that quality, you saw the size, you saw the ability to play with those teammates, even in a limited amount of time. So like you said, arrow trending upwards in regard to the quality of this team. Will it be enough or, you know, will we have enough time for that to, like, you know, really reconcile this season? It is yet to be seen.
One other quote here from Brendan Heinzike. He said, "I'm disappointed to concede the way we conceded because I thought we defended well collectively. We had a few moments of the game where we were really under it. And when a goal gets scored, as always, it's on all the defense. I mean, of course, there are individual mistakes, but I think we were, as a group with Brad, we can't hang our heads. There's a lot of play left, and that just shows in this league there's a lot of talent." So, man, I'm with him. I thought that defensively, even giving up the 2 goals, that the team played well defensively. Because, again, outside of the pen you give up and then what we talked about on the second goal, thought it was mostly solid. And again, like their best other chance, to my recollection, is the open net chance that Swiderski has at the beginning. And again, not to pick on our guy, but number 16 out there, right? That's his back pass. That's him getting shoved off the ball on the second goal, right? So anything else for you on this one? I mean, we scored 2 goals on Charlotte. The last team to do that against them was like Inter Miami, Orlando. Not a lot of teams get more than 1 goal on Charlotte. Again, coming into the match, just 25 goals conceded in 24 games. So I think it's I did not feel this way last night. I told you multiple times I thought it was a bad draw. But I also think there's just multiple things, not just the new guys being here, that are positives to take away from it. But again, you can talk about positives all you want. If you're not sitting in a top 9 position by the end of the year, you have failed to reach your goal.
Yeah, all those things are nice, but they're not going to push you into the playoffs. So I'm totally there with you. Again, you know, you have one or two of those mistakes taken away, and I'm not expecting a team to play 90 minutes of perfect soccer. But, you know, when you take one of those 2 mistakes away and you're looking at 3 points, but that's really been how thin the margins have been this year and how this has played out pretty consistently throughout the season. So like I said, you know, you got to shift gears now, and you got a tough road ahead, but you got to find a way. You have to.
So a couple things before we move on. There were, like we mentioned in the midweek, MLS announced some confirmations of the new rules that were rumored. They also decided that there will be no second buyout. I want to get into that more on the midweek episode, where we can take an in-depth look at where the roster stands right now with our 3 new additions, what could potentially be coming the rest of this transfer window, and then maybe even take a little look ahead to the offseason as we get into the Leagues Cup break here. Speaking of Leagues Cup, had a lot of fun last year with our Leagues Cup Bracket Challenge group, where our champion took home a Las Voces kit. We are running that back this Leagues Cup so we will have the link to our Leagues Cup Bracket Challenge group in the description of this episode. So whether you're listening on audio or watching on the YouTube, in the description, you can find the link to our Leagues Cup group. Free to join. Make your picks. One thing we ask of you is put your name, even if it's your name, initials, whatever, some sort of signifier, not 10 numbers after it. We want somebody's name so we can, know who is doing well. Talk a little crap about who's doing terribly, like I think I did last year. And the winner at the end of Leagues Cup will win an Armadillo kit from the North End podcast. So free to join up with our Leagues Cup Bracket Challenge group. Excited to get that underway in 5 days.
It was a lot of fun last year. I'm looking forward to it again for sure.
So we'll get into last business day, but for the first time in a little bit, let's check in on
the best keeper in the world.
Damian Loss out there with Louisville City taking on Colorado Springs this weekend at home. And we have our good buddy Trevor Allison gave us the match report here from Damian. So it was a 2-1 win here for Louisville City on Friday night. A couple of good saves from our boy, including a big one 45 seconds in, where he was alert to a ball over the back line and really closed down the angle for the shooter. The goal he allowed was a fast transition after a breakaway where the CB covering the goal scorer is typically a wingback and filling in due to injury. Damian came out aggressively, but the finish was good enough to get over him. He maybe could have played a little bit bigger, but Trevor did not think that the goal was ultimately on him. Colorado Springs missed a penalty off the post, but Las had guessed wrong. The penalty call was bad in Trevor's opinion, so he said, ball don't lie. Louisville City controlled a lot of the game, so Las went some long stretches without much to do. He was beat late by a good strike from 18 yards that hit the crossbar and stayed out. I think he had the actual goal mouth covered, but it's hard to tell with the USL camera angles. There were a couple of other breakaway opportunities from giveaways that did not lead to shots, and I think there might be some slight improvement in Damian's timing to come out and cover in those situations. So another victory here for Louisville City. It sounds to me like from these, full game breakdowns from our resident Louisville City fan, that Damian may be going through maybe some growing pains here, right? Certainly being put in some positions to be tested, which is what we want to see out of this loan spell. And with another victory for Louisville City, up to 41 points from their 19 games, plus 25 goal differential. Must be fun to be a Louisville fan.
Yeah.
So Damian, we will keep our eyes on the best keeper in the world, and we'll move on to last business day, where we got a new player in the midweek. Nico Van Rijn was announced as the newest free agent defender to sign with Austin FC2 on a deal through 2025 with club options for 26 and 27. Van Rijn, 6'4" center back, dual citizen of the Netherlands and Spain, came through the youth ranks at CF Dam before beginning his senior career with Lleida Esportiu in 2020. Van Rijn, 10 league appearances, 1 Copa del Rey appearance in his one season before moving to the Spanish third division. And I believe I heard that this kid Van Rijn is from the same area as Rodolfo. So we've seen Van Rijn before, Ruben Bonachera from that area. So we're getting the Roto maybe hometown discount on some of these guys.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. 23 years old, Van Rijn. So coming in, and I also saw some speculation. Maybe we're using some of these guys that are a little bit older getting signed, like a Bonachera, like a Van Rijn, like FCito is kind of like a holding area to maybe decide if you want to bring these guys up on supplemental deals or something like that, just based on their profile. Again, just speculation, but I think an interesting addition here in the midseason, and 6'4" center back.
Yeah, we'll definitely take that size and height there, man. We're got to get into this game, and I'm just thinking about this game and these poor
I was trying to hold off here, but we can go ahead and get into it. I know both of us had eyes on this one or rather after we recorded the midweek episode on Thursday. Diego Abarca gets the start in CJ Fodre's absence. Jimmy and Micah up there. Sebastian Pignot, I believe the word was minor knock, not a big concern, but kept him out of this one. And Austin, I mean, I would say the first 10 minutes, heavy Loons favor there in terms of the pressure being put on by either side. But in the 16th minute, I don't think it was quite a butt goal here from Jimmy, but it was as close as we've seen, because you get a great ball from Alonso Ramirez into Jimmy, splitting the two center backs there for Loons too. That touch kind of gets away from him, and the keeper tries to clear it, and Jimmy just jumps up. Looks like it hits off the back of his legs, but goes into the net. So and that was just really against the run of play. But Jimmy was aggressive. Like 5 minutes later, you get him in behind again down that left side and trying to bend this one around the keeper. Gets it past the keeper, but goes out for a goal kick. But I thought it was a good game, even with the unorthodox way he got on the score sheet.
Yeah. We'll definitely take that style of goal. But like you said, the rate of play, the willingness to put pressure on the defense was all there for him. And, the results will come if you continue to play with that level of consistency. So it's good to see.
Well, and coming out of the half here, and again, similar to the first team, literally right out of the half, off this kickoff, Micah Burton takes the ball off of a Loons player. Loons started with the possession, but this 10 seconds in, Micah plays it back to Bobo, and then he kind of loses it for a moment. The ball pings around a little bit, but then Bobasi able to run back onto it about 30 yards from net. He takes a peek up, sees the keeper off his line, just drops in the chip, nestles it into the back of the net. 2-0 right after the half. And I really thought we had that one after that.
Yep. I was amped up for those dudes because I felt like it was going to be a huge win, and to come out and have this awesome display where you go up 2-0. And like you said, after the first 10 minutes, you're really controlling this game, look like the better team. You get a Bobo goal, which is always one of our favorite things.
Yeah.
But sadly, the wheels fell off.
Yeah, I mean, last 10 minutes, here's 82nd minute. Tony Gomez gets caught sticking his leg out in the box. A definite pen. Minnesota player buries it. So we're 2-1 now in the 82nd. And then Minnesota knocking. And here in the 90th minute, they're coming up down the right. They play it across, and Shaik Touré slides in to try to clear it out. Hits it. Own goal. Unfortunate there for Touré. But okay. We're going to the shootout, right? Let's catch our breath here. We've got a point. Try to get the second one. This was one of the most wild penalty shootouts I have ever seen. First 5 kicks, none of them convert. First, Alonso sends the Loons keeper the wrong way, but then for the second time in as many PK shootouts, pings his shot off the post. Then Marcus Alstrup saves the first Loons kick. Then our second one, Shaik Touré, tough finish to the game for him, sends his high off the crossbar and out. Then Alstrup saves again. Yeah. Fantastic game from Marcus in my book. And then Ruben Bonachera, his shot, our third attempt, saved. All 5 kicks after that were converted. So 3-2 to the Loons. They steal the 2 points at home. Austin comes back with just 1 point. And that one hurts, man. That one hurts.
That was painful for sure. That one really hurts, not just in regard to how it played out, but how it looks now with the rest of this season on the line.
So as we talked about a little bit in the midweek, this team has a bye this week in Next Pro, but we have the Next Pro Invitational, which is FCito against Cancun FC. We will preview that match in the midweek episode. And I think that does it for us here, on episode 161. Anything else for you before we get out of here?
Just one thing. Shout out Mason. Thanks for coming down and seeing us, bro. It was great to meet you. Excited to see those business cards and what they look like.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you very much. Really appreciated that. And nope, other than that, good to go.
Yeah. Mason and George came by. Good to see George. Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Last night, seeing the Pirates again. Shout out to the Pirates for the shirt. I love this North End Pirates shirt. I know I see you wearing the Iron Verde pin there, so I like that.
Got the pin. We were supposed to be matching, but I'm a very forgetful person, and most of my wardrobe is at your place. Keys, wallet, phone. Sometimes I leave those there. Sunglasses.
Yep. This is this time? Yeah, found those in the car.
So I do apologize. We were supposed to be matching today, but dropped the ball.
All right, everybody. That'll do it for us. We'll be back on Wednesday previewing Austin FC's Leagues Cup group stage match against Pumas, FCito's matchup against Cancun FC. Doing a little deep dive on the new MLS roster rules and what our roster is looking like at this point of the transfer window. We'll get, I think, like 3 weeks of best ball updates. We'll talk about the bets, all the nonsense. We'll have an action-packed episode in the midweek. I appreciate you all tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 161. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We will do the same. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. Till then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.